Hey there, friend. Come on in and settle yourself for a little while. Let the day fall off your shoulders like mist slipping down the mountain. This is Debbie Sue, and welcome to Southern Whispers at Night, a soft place for tired hearts, a porch light left on just for you, and a moment to breathe in peace you might have forgotten you needed. Here, we slow everything down. We trade the noise of the day for the hush of the evening, and we let a gentle story or a quiet reflection wrap around us like a warm quilt fresh off the line. So stay right here in this quiet place for a moment. Let your heart breathe. Now, let's drift into tonight's whisper. I'm so glad you've joined me tonight. Before the day slips quietly into tomorrow, I'd like to invite you to imagine something. Picture an old handmade quilt, folded neatly across the back of a wooden rocking chair. At first glance, your eyes are drawn to the colorful patches, the deep burgundy squares, the faded blues, the tiny floral prints, each carrying its own little memory. But tonight, I'd like us to look a little closer, because the strongest part of that quilt isn't the patches everyone notices. It's the thousands of tiny stitches, almost invisible, quietly holding everything together. The mountains have a way of teaching us that the most important things are often the easiest to overlook. The roots beneath the tallest oak, the quiet spring that feeds an entire creek. They're rarely admired. Most people never think about them at all. Yet, without them, everything else would slowly fall apart. Old quilts are much the same. People admire the patterns. They remember who pieced together the colorful fabrics. They smile at the memories sewn into each square. But very few people ever stop to think about the tiny stitches, thousands of them. Each one no bigger than a grain of rice. Each one made by patient hands. Each one almost invisible. Yet together, they carry the weight of the whole quilt. I've often wondered if people are a little like that too. Sometimes, I think we've forgotten how much of life is held together by things we rarely notice. The hinges on an old screen door, the nails beneath the porch floor, the roots hidden beneath a towering oak, the tiny springs inside a well-worn pocket watch. They're easy to overlook because they quietly do the work they were created to do. I think that's why quilts have always fascinated me. When someone first unfolds a handmade quilt, they almost always admire the colors. They run their hands across the bright patches of blue, the faded reds, the little flowers stitched into soft cotton squares. Someone might ask where the fabric came from, or who made it, or how old it is. But very few people ever lean close enough to notice the thousands of tiny stitches tucked between every patch. Without them, the quilt would simply become a pile of beautiful pieces. It's those little quiet stitches, patiently sewn into one after another, that give the quilt its strength. I've often wondered if that's how heaven sees our lives, why we spend so much time worrying about the colorful patches, our accomplishments, our titles, or plans. Perhaps God smiles at the tiny stitches no one else ever notices. The prayer whispered while washing dishes, the smile offered to a tired cashier, the hand resting gently on someone's shoulder, the forgiveness that never made the evening news, the decision to answer harsh words with kindness. Tiny stitches, invisible to most, yet strong enough to hold lives together. I remember sitting beside my grandmother as she quilted. The room was always quiet except for the soft pull of thread through the fabric. Sometimes sunlight spilled across her lap. Sometimes rain tapped gently against the window. She never rushed. Needle in, needle out, again and again, hour after hour. As a little girl, I couldn't understand why she spent so much time making stitches no one else would ever see. She smiled one afternoon, without ever looking up from her work, and said something I've carried in my heart ever since. The stitches nobody notices are the ones that keep the whole thing from coming apart. At that time, I thought she was talking about quilts. Now, I wonder if she was talking about people. There are people all around us living lives filled with invisible stitches. The grandfather who quietly checks on his widowed neighbor every Saturday morning. The teacher who buys school supplies with her own money because she knows a child will come without them. The church member who arrives before sunrise to make coffee and straighten hymn books before anyone else arrives. The nurse who gently tucks an extra blanket around someone's shoulder during the middle of the night. The father who works long hours and still kneels beside his child's bed for evening prayers. The mother who stays awake long after everyone else has fallen asleep, folding laundry, packing lunches, or simply sitting in the silence because it's the first quiet moment she's had all day. No headlines, no applause, just another tiny stitch. Maybe you've been someone like that. Maybe you spent years holding things together without anyone realizing how much you carry. You smiled through exhaustion, prayed through uncertainty, loved through disappointment, forgiven when your heart still ached. You've shown up again and again, not because it was easy, but because someone needed you. If that's you, I hope tonight you know that your life has never been ordinary. It's actually been quietly extraordinary. Like those tiny stitches, your faithfulness has held together more than you'll probably ever know. Sometimes we think strength looks like standing on a stage, or speaking to a crowd, or accomplishing something the whole world can see. But strength often looks like chopping wood before daylight, bringing soup to a sick neighbor without being asked, leaving vegetables on someone else's porch from your garden, repairing a fence that belongs to an elderly friend, sitting beside someone who's grieving, not because you know the right words, but because you know your presence matters more than your speech. Those are the kinds of stitches that don't unravel with time. The older I become, the more I believe that love is usually quiet, not because it lacks power, but because real love doesn't spend much time announcing itself. It simply keeps showing up, morning after morning, season after season, just like the needle passing through cloth, patiently, faithfully, again and again. There is another beautiful thing about quilts. If you look closely, you'll find that not every stitch is perfect. Some are a little longer. Some wander slightly to one side. Some pull tighter than others. Yet somehow, the quilt is still beautiful. Maybe that's grace. Maybe God never expected every stitch in our lives to be perfect. Maybe He simply asked us to keep sewing, keep loving, keep forgiving, keep showing up, Keep trusting Him with the pattern we cannot see yet. Imagine that old quilt resting quietly across the back of her rocking chair tonight. The lantern beside it glows softly. A cool breeze drifts across the porch. Somewhere beyond the yard, the crickets begin their evening song. The mountains stand peacefully beneath the stars. And there rests a lifetime of invisible stitches. Perhaps your own life looks much the same. It may not seem spectacular. It may feel ordinary. But if you've loved well, served quietly, offered kindness freely, and remained faithful when no one else was watching, then your life has become something beautifully strong. Not because the world noticed every stitch, but because God did. And in His hands, not one single thread has ever been wasted. So tonight, as the crickets sing outside, and the moon lays its silver light across the mountains, imagine that old quilt. The colorful patches are beautiful, but they're not what keeps it together. It's the thousands of tiny little stitches, patiently sewn, one at a time. Maybe your life has been filled with those same quiet stitches. Kindness, faithfulness, patience, grace. They may not be noticed by everyone, but they have held more lives together than you'll ever know. And maybe that's one of the most beautiful callings a person could ever have. If tonight's reflection brought you a little peace to your heart, I hope you'll come back and spend another quiet evening with me here on the porch beneath these Appalachian skies. Until then, may your heart find rest. May your burdens grow lighter. And may you never forget that even the smallest acts of love are seen by the one who stitched this whole beautiful world together. Sleep peacefully, my friend. We'll meet here again soon, where the mountains whisper and the lanterns glow softly, and every quiet stitch tells a story. And now, we'll let the night carry the rest of this journey for you. There's nothing more you need to do, nothing more you need to hold on to. Just breathe. Let your thoughts drift like fireflies across the quiet summer field. And let sleep find you in its own gentle time. Until we gather here again beneath another peaceful southern sky, may your rest be deep, your dreams be sweet, and your heart know peace.